name is Robert Tripp. I'm from Massapequa, New York. I'd like to begin with Resolution 720, 2016. Oh, that was tabled?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, let me just verify. We tabled.
Oh, I don't know, I'm sorry, I stepped out. Okay. I'm sorry. I missed it. Did you table P117 also?
Yes. Yes. I think 699 also.
Okay, 699 is okay. So I'd like to bring to your attention, this resolution appears that...
Which one? I'm sorry, which one?
Oh, 699 you said?
We tabled that.
Oh, you tabled that too? I'm sorry.
Why don't you go in order? You got 672, I got you first up.
672, did you, that one's going? Okay, I'd like to know, this appears to be, I don't see any bids or RFP for this contract. And I'd like to know, is this yoga instruction that this contract is being recommended and that you're being asked to approve today? Are these for the classes that Linda Mondello arranges at the farm at Oyster Bay through her historical preservation contract?
No, let's find out. Is this an extension, Commissioner? What do we got here?
Every year we go out for this, and it is a professional service, and there are no yoga classes offered at the farm.
I'm sorry.
This is not for yoga classes offered at the farm.
Okay.
We are not offering any yoga classes at the farm.
Did you have any other people bid for this position, or just...
Why don't you ask me, Rob?
I'm sorry. I had asked whether any RFPs presented or proposals sent out.
I believe she's the sole source.
Oh, I apologize for asking because there was nothing provided in the memorandum docket online.
That's all right. Sorry, I think we clarified it.
Okay. Is it okay for 690?
690. 690 good? What's that? Okay, 690 is a go. What do you got?
Okay. I'm a little curious about this. This is a resolution. It looks like the Maine Made In, which, if you remember, there were some issues back with an illegal permit being issued by the commissioner, the former commissioner of planning and development, Frederick Ippolito, or a wrongful permit. And then there was a hearing that had to be held with the, you call it the, I'm sorry, I don't want to use the wrong term.
Landmarks preservation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fender. Landmarks preservation. Now, according to this resolution, it looks like you're going to approve doubling the size of the seating from roughly 256 to over 500 seats. And when you read the memorandum docket that was prepared by Timothy Zeip, the acting commissioner, it actually makes reference. It says on February 25th, 2015, the prior commissioner of the Department of Planning and Development granted a building permit. But we know that that building permit was unlawfully granted. So I don't think you should be voting to extend or double the size of the seating. I mean, that's enormous, doubling the size from 256 to over 500 at the Made In without further investigation and possibly another meeting of the Landmarks Preservation Committee. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Councilman Kosh, I know, all liaisons at P&D and Tim Zeig, I think, work this out. But Timmy, what do we got?
Give the history of how this got here.
Acting commissioners, I think.
Certainly.
Morning Supervisor, morning Town Board. As Mr. Ripp stated, last year in February, the prior commissioner did issue a building permit to the Maine Made In for a complete renovation of the property. Sorry. They did issue a building permit to the property owner for a complete renovation of the Maine Made In. In May of 2015, there was an emergency meeting of the Landmarks Preservation Commission to review the exterior of the building from the public right-of-way. The Landmarks Commission, after 2 meetings, ended up approving the facade improvements or the exterior improvements of the Maine Made In renovation. Part 2 of that is that there was a lawsuit then filed against the town by the East Norwich Civic Association. The East Norwich Civic Association and the town ended up agreeing to a stipulation, which is agreed on by the town board and passed a resolution, I believe, in June of 2015, granting certain exterior architectural looks to be maintained as part of the Maine Made In, such as the chimney stacks, certain type of shingles that were used, the weathering, for the look that they wanted to maintain with the main made-in. So the project ended up going forward. The past few months, I started reviewing the property records because the property owners now is looking to obtain a certificate of occupancy for the renovation. And looking through the property records, I find that the prior town board resolutions passed back in the 1980s did approve an occupancy of 298 persons for the restaurant use. And looking at the new plans, it's seen that 565 people can be accommodated now at the main made-in. Part of the resolution that was granted by the town board back in, I believe it was 1982, said that any changes to the restrictive covenants had to be approved by a town board resolution. So that's part one of the resolution that's before the board this morning. Part two was a town board resolution, I believe, issued in 1983 that granted a site plan approval. The site plan has been changed, and in order to facilitate a new certificate of occupancy, again, the town board must approve a site plan for the main made-in. For most respects, it does comply with all the zoning requirements of Chapter 246. For purposes of full disclosure, there was a prior variance on the property for the reduction of off-street parking. The variance back in 1983-84 called for the main made-in to maintain 80 parking spaces. Right now, on the proposed site plan, they show 52, but the property owner did go through obtaining leases from adjoining property owners to compensate the additional parking that's required for the occupancy. Should the board go forward with this resolution, the property owner would then be required to go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals to ask for amendment of the prior off-street parking variance, and then that would be the forum where they would prove out that they have the additional parking through the adjoining properties.
How long are these leases for, Tim?
I didn't get a chance to review the actual ones. They were signed and they were dropped off.
52 spaces, if Mr. Ripp's correct, with 500 and so seats. The math just doesn't add up.
Well, how many do they need now?
Right now, the way that the parking requirement lays out, they would be required to have 188 parking spaces. There's 52 on site, and then there's office buildings that completely surround the main made-in, as well as a county-owned property across the street, which they did obtain the leases for, like I said. With the leases in place, the parking that would be able to be provided would be about in excess of 200. And like I said, that would then be subject to the zoning board at that point, if the board grants this resolution this morning.
Have they submitted the leases to the town?
Yes.
You have them? You don't know the duration?
I didn't check the duration, I apologize for that.
Maybe we should do that time to review it.
Well, the duration would be, I think, significant, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If the board can give me about 5 minutes, I'll run over and check it real
If it's
quick.
5 years, then, if it's 20 years, it's different than 5 years.
No problem, if the board can grant me 5 minutes, I'll go check it real quick.
And what if there's cancellation provisions or termination provisions, if it gets terminated, quickly, it's not of no use, so.
All we're gonna be doing is stressing on the residents.
Correct, understood. If you can grant me 5 minutes, I'll go pull it real quick.
Take 10.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Rob, let's continue.
Okay, I just wanted to say, while Mr. Zeiss getting those papers, I was going to ask you about the parking, and I was actually going to make a suggestion, because I know that there's ample off-street parking, but...
Well, yeah, what you suggested, it might help.
Oh, well, he's already pointed out that allegedly the property owners are entering into leases with the surrounding property owners for the parking. But the point I'd like to bring to your attention is that these leases, which Mr. Zeiss is going to get right now, this information should have been provided in the memorandum docket, because this is information that obviously you're interested in, he's going to get it. And it would have answered a lot of questions that I had.
We agree.
Okay, so, thank you.
Let's see if we can go back with it.
You want to go on to the next one?
The council made a good point, that, the strength of these leases is significant, obviously. So let's see what you got. No, keep going, what do you got?
Okay, 696, is that okay?
Sure.
We got that one? Okay, I'm curious about this, and I kind of was going to explain this to you hand in hand with the PF, forget the exact number that you tabled, but it looks like, I'm reading this resolution, and you're renewing contracts The contracts are in relation to, want me to keep going, or you want?
No, keep going, because we
Okay.
took up a lot of time.
The contracts are in
Hold on,
relation,
Bob, how much is the total time again?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, so rewind it, 5 minutes, whatever.
I'll make it quick. These contracts are in relation to outside counsel that negotiates for the town. They represent the town in collective bargaining agreements.
Right.
Okay, and evidently, we have, the town pays four separate attorney firms. They are identified in the memorandum information to represent the town in guidance in negotiating collective bargaining agreements on behalf of town and grievances submitted by town employees, representation on behalf of the town in disciplinary hearings.
It might have been 5 law firms, because I think it's 5 law.
It could be.
Let's just make sure we know what we're talking about.
I just question,
Supervisor.
5, right?
five? I'm sorry.
That's
I thought it was
right.
four.
Just to make sure.
I just question, the cost of maintaining 5 separate firms to represent us in contract negotiations, weighed against the cost in contract concessions that you're asking from the workers.
I think we're probably going to find that they serve different purposes, but Vicki, can you help us at all?
The different firms there have specialties for personnel issues and things like that, so this resolution comes out of my department, different departments do use this resolution. There are ones for the collective bargaining agreements, there is one that we use internally for human resources, strictly for individual personnel reasons, so they're actually different companies for different specialties, but it's all under the same resolution, they all get maximum of that $1. And then I think they're each allotted a specific amount that they can get.
You remember the days, Rob, when Sandy Koufax was starting the game and pitched 9 innings? And now they got a guy that pitched the 7th inning, a guy that pitched the 8th inning, a guy that...
No, I understand your point, and I was never a real big baseball fan, so
Oh.
I was a hockey fan. So, I haven't watched a baseball game in quite a while.
I haven't watched one in a
But
while.
my point with the resolution is,
Got the message.
so I understand that, the explanation, but when I read the resolution, it only explains, like for instance, when you read the current resolution 696 and it makes reference to the original resolution, which is 69 and 216, it makes reference only to the one function. It doesn't explain that. As a matter of fact, it's kind of misleading because you're approving you're contemplating approving a resolution today to renewal options in these contracts, but they're not just for one thing. Evidently, these law firms do many different things, so maybe they should have more than one contract. Maybe they should all have their own contract.
Yeah, the point is, though, that Labor Council Services breaks down into a lot of different protocols, if you will. So anyway, that's, yes.
Okay. The last one is 7, I'm sorry.
Just for the record, just want to let you know that there is no retainer for any of these employers.
It's as
Only
used.
on it as we use it, so if we don't use them at all, they don't get paid.
That's just the authorization.
The last one is 726. This was delayed a couple of times, and I know that the town was required to pass this resolution because of the outcome of the Christopher Briggs versus Town of Oyster Bay lawsuit.
Oh, this is the signs?
Yeah, the signs. I'm curious, did the town incur any penalties, monetary or otherwise, in the court proceedings because this wasn't approved as per the stipulations of the settlement with Mr. Briggs?
There were council fees, but there was not any type of damages, no, I think it was maybe $5,000 in council fees.
There you go.
I'm sorry, Matt.
Go ahead.
The council fees that you're referring to are just the attorney costs for the suit. I'm asking specifically, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. I'm not. What I'm asking is there were no additional penalties or costs because the town didn't follow the stipulation and approve this at the right time. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. All right, thank you very much. I'll just wait to hear from Mr. Zyke.
Don't go.
Okay.
I'm not asking this to embarrass you. You do know Sandy Koufax.
Yeah, I've heard the name. I couldn't give you any of the stats. You know what? I couldn't really, I think he's a pitcher. Was he a pitcher?
That's right.
Okay, all right. That's about it.
I'm just having fun with it.
You know who Ralph Gilbert is, right?
Oh, hockey player. Oh, you're a hockey guy.
Yeah, who was he, Roger Bell? What number did he wear? Number 7 for the Rangers.
That's right, you're up right.
That's an easy one. Try it.
That is an easy one. How about Dale Ralph? Number 5.
5, yeah. I don't know. I thought you were gonna ask me Andy Badgate or something like that.
I saw it.
Okay. Mr. Supervisor and Board, there are 3 agreements that were presented to the town. The one is for across the street at the Malcolm House owned by Nassau County.
Okay.
There is no termination date. It's basically written that it's for 30 spaces upon the opening of the restaurant and until either side gives 30 days notice to terminate the contract. That's for 30 spaces. There was a total of let me backtrack, I apologize. It's a total of 220 spaces that would be provided. There would be 53 on site. I had mentioned before is 52. It's 53 on site with the remaining balance coming from the adjoining property owners. The first one for Nassau County accounts for 30 spaces. Like I said, there's no end agreement on that. That accounts for 30. The other 2, for 350 Jericho Turnpike and for 400, 410, and 420 Jericho Turnpike will compensate the balance of what's left. The initial term is for 5 years. That will be automatically renewed for 3 5-year agreements, so a total of 20 years.
And what's the termination?
And then the termination scenario would be written notice to the licensee, I believe in a 30-day written notice.
So it could be just a 5. It
Could be 5 years, but it says it automatically renews for 3 5-year terms. So like I said, it'd be a total of 20 years.
Is there a third one?
Oh, I'm sorry, both those contracts, the one for 350 Jericho Turnpike and the one for 400, 410, and 420 both say the same arrangement. 5 years,
3 5s.
and it'll be automatically renewed for 3 5-year options afterwards for a total of 20 years.
Unless they get a letter.
Unless they get a letter saying it terminates after 30 days.
And what happens under those, what happens under those circumstances?
Well, it's up to the board. I mean, it can be conditioned to say that if the parking is lost at any point, they could lose the occupancy, or maybe the special use gets rescinded. Same thing with the zoning board. Again, if this board approves it and it makes it to the zoning board, they could always set conditions saying that if the parking is not met, that their variance or use granted by the town board or the variance granted by the zoning board could be rescinded at that point. But again, that's entirely up to the board.
Having flashbacks to another recent parking situation.
Yes, when you say that.
Yeah, Councilman, anything that can help us here?
Yeah,
On the one hand, you don't want to stop it, but on the other hand, there may be a problem.
The only way I would move it forward is with those conditions. I know they're strict conditions, but if they lose the parking, they shouldn't continue to have the occupancy. So I think if you want to review it and put it over to another meeting, that's fine. But, you know, they're terminable in 30 days, so you could be without parking.
I mean, one of the trees, theoretically, they could be there one day to get a notice.
Right. But then the condition could be that it's, you know, the approval is rescinded or cut back. Or occupancy
But
reverts back.
That'll never happen. I mean, that's exactly the situation we were in with the temple, where they were originally supposed to buy the lot across the street and then they didn't, but they had already built it. I mean, you know,
Well,
it would be.
it could happen, but it's not ideal. I don't think it's a good situation, but you could cut back your occupancy for the park.
All right, what is the board's pleasure?
I think we should take it.
I'd like to table to get more information.
All right, do we do that now, or do we? I think just a simple table?
Yeah.
All right, Justin. 696, right?
I think it's
No, 690, wait.
690.
That's what we need to do. 690, okay, 690.
Supervisor, I make a motion to table resolution 690.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved, so tabled.